Okay, so what you're going to hear today, guys, is two seasoned professionals who have been in the trenches for years. One focuses on paid ads, the other one focuses on search engine optimization. Google, 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 baby. That's what it's all about. Listen to these two guys talk about the differences in their different lines of Google-specific work. All right, everybody. Here we are for another episode of Why Not Results podcast. I'm really excited to get this going. We've been trying to do this for years now. Part of the way we started this studio was a bit wrapped around search engine optimization, basically Google. And Justin and I met each other many years ago with the laptops out in Starbucks and tried to get things figured out. And then Jeff and I met each other also in a very peculiar way, but and ended up getting to know each other a lot better on the Google side as well. And they both have a lot of Google experience, but handle two totally different areas of Google. And so what I'm so excited about is get these conversations, get guys like this talking, communicating, because typically guys like you and I, the business people, are just talking to one or the other, very seldom a collective agency, because we typically can't afford the big agencies who have everything in-house. So we end up talking to just a Justin or just a Jeff. And it's very confusing for us little guys in the middle. And so this is going to be one of our first conversations between two people that I know they hate the word guru, but so I'm not going to call you gurus, but yahoos. We'll call them yahoos that are very good at what they do. So
We don't do Yahoo, we do Google.
see what you're in store for it. So kick back, listen to this. It's going to be good. Justin Blake with Loyalty Marketing.
Rising Phoenix.
Okay, seems like everybody has multiple companies. All right. And then we have Jeff Enalcher here with Not Frugal with DAS Advertising. Digital
Agency support.
agency support. So on that note, I'll turn it over to Joy.
Hi, I'm Justin Blake with Rising Phoenix Marketing. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited about doing these and getting the word out and getting some information out, talking to different clients, talking to other businesses that are in the same world that I'm in. And I'm excited about being here. I appreciate it.
Hi there, I'm Enalcher, Digital Agency Support. We do Google paid ads here with Justin, who does the SEO portion of it. We're going to have a little bit of a conversation based around Google advertising and everything that a small business wants to know in order to figure out the podcast world, the Google world, and everything that we need to make you and us successful. The two types of advertising that we do, I think that they work together. And the best way I explain it is real estate. You know, if you can, you should be doing both. When you look at a Google search page, there's only so much real estate on there. If you do organic and you show up and you do ads, you can take up to half the page if you do it correctly.
Yeah, I love it. We see that in the search aspects of it for us when we start building out the optimization, both on the maps, which is going to be a little bit quicker turnaround, where when he's doing the ads, they're not instant, but as soon as they get them up, they could start generating traffic. For us, it does take a little bit longer. It just build out a foundation. And again, two channels in terms of what we do, one with the maps and the other with the organic side. The maps can be a little bit quicker. Different channels, and now with AI also coming into that world, we have to be aware of what's going on there. So,
yeah, there's a lot of the different features of Google that work between the two of us. I mean, the reviews, the maps, the Google My Business, all that comes into play in paid ads as well. If you have locations and stuff like that, it all pulls from some of that stuff. The reviews are important, and so there's a lot of the free services through Google that affect Google ads as well as organic.
yeah, it's amazing what pieces that we can do that will make a change. You know, we'll create other pages out there that will generate traffic into a client's website. We'll go in and optimize the website per best practices. A lot of development and heavy geek nerd stuff that comes into some of that. And I know I've just always enjoyed it. And it's, like I said, it can be challenged.
Yeah. And let's change direction a little bit. I'll go ahead and explain a little bit about where paid ads fall into place. Um, you will, if you're running paid ads, there's a lot of different areas where you can end up showing up. There's everybody knows the Google search network. You know, you search for something and you get 3 ads at the top, and then you get all the organic search results down below. That's the bread and butter for Google search. But Google touches on so many other areas. They have display ads, which is if you're looking at a website and you see a picture with an ad on it, that's where the display is. It's kind of like a billboard on a website. So um, that's one of the other big areas for Google search. Then if you're a service professional, I don't know, a plumber, a tree surgeon, whatever it is, there's local service ads. There's a good area that you would want to show up in. If you're e-commerce, there's shopping ads that show up, and you would want to run something like that. Shopping ads are the ones with the pictures all up across the top with the prices and everything else, and you see the product itself when you search for something. It just touches on so many different areas. YouTube is owned by Google, so all video ads, everything along in that route, in that area. And now AI is starting to pop its head up in there, and we're having to account for all the different AI stuff. And I know that, speaking of AI, you enjoy that part of it. Now, Google's starting to play with your world with AI, dear sir.
For sure. One of the things about AI is content, and they really are looking for questions and you answering questions, because the information that is shown up at the top gets pulled from somebody's website. So if you are the authority for that question that was asked, you will get pulled up and in the AI search. And so the main thing that you have to do is start optimizing for that question. And so it's become very important that on your website, you're answering questions. On your Google My Business or your map section, you're answering questions. You're answering what it is that people are looking for. Because the more that you do that, so with even videos in YouTube, you mentioned, you can optimize those videos for those questions, and you can answer those questions in the description, and it just starts to become something that gets served up by AI. But you have to put that into a place where AI can find it. And, and that's one of the things with all of the information that's out there, and it's huge. Having a blog post that is continually updated, tuned to specific questions or keywords that you're trying to rank for. It's nutty. I mean, it's a huge undertaking, and it can be pretty daunting for somebody that doesn't have a good foundation or understanding of what's going on.
Oh, yeah, I agree completely. Digital advertising can be very daunting. Your world's completely different than mine, and mine's extremely expansive. And then you get into SEO, and there's just so much going on. You said 3 different terms. You said content, authority, and I don't know if you said it, but relevancy. And those are the 3 things that Google really looks at. They want you, if you search for Pepsi, you might have to edit that. I don't know if I can say a brand name or not, but if you search for Pepsi, they want you to land on Pepsi's web. They want it to be relevant, or on an article about Pepsi or something like that. Relevancy, I think, is the most important thing to Google. Is they want you to find what you're looking for. If you don't, you're going to go to another search engine. Content, the content that you have, it has to have authority, which means it has to make sense, be real, be honest, and it has to be valuable to the person that is searching for it. So those are the 3 things that underlying, for the most part, in my mind, that for Google, paid and organic, is very important.
What's funny is some of the signals that are on the backside that people are not aware of. If Google serves up something and you click on that link and you go to somebody's website and immediately back out of that, what happens is Google says that must have been a bad search result, and you will get docked points or however they want to do it with their algorithm. But those signals are all paid attention. They recognize when you go to a website and then you go further into the website, that's now a positive signal to Google saying they gave you what you were looking for, and now you're digging deeper into this website to find more information on the queries that you would ask. It's a lot of that stuff, just incredible signals that are happening that nobody is aware of, that Google is paying attention to all the time. How long are you on a website? That's why videos are so important, because it makes you dwell and stay on a page. And that's another signal that comes into play in terms of your rankings.
This is time on site.
Time on site. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. So from an SEO perspective, how long do you usually, is it a quick turnaround when you're trying to get somebody brand new to start using your services? What kind of time frame are you looking at?
So first of all, one of the best things about paid traffic is that it's instantaneous. All right, as soon as you get those ads up, you can have that come in. SEO takes a while for that foundation to be built. It's a little bit faster in the max section because that is just built that way. However, you're looking, depending on the competition, it could be 6 to 8 months. It could be 8 to 12 months. If you have a highly competitive client that there's a whole bunch of them in the city, you have to really climb over every single one of those guys in the search results if you're brand new. So every time there's somebody in your world, you have to step over them and step over them and step over them. And in terms of the map section, that's actually built around your area. So the further out away from where your office is, the harder it is for you to be ranking. So you can set those terms, but you have to be putting authority. You have to be putting power into that map listing so that it starts to rank further and further out. So there's a lot of factors to answer that. But those are just a couple of things that you have to deal with. The higher competitive stuff, like lawyers, or just get inundated with people calling them, it's competitive. And so somebody's doing a lot of stuff. You have to figure out a way to beat them or do more than what they're doing.
So from an SEO perspective, you can choose when somebody's searching whether they get local ads based on the same search or nationwide ads. Correct. Not ads, but
yes, search results. Yes. So it's if you're doing a national campaign, and we've had a few people, we want to be ranking nationally for this. One of them was a lawyer, and when I finally came back with a I thought more than reasonable offer, he's like, well, I just want DC and Chicago and Los Angeles and, a couple of the largest cities in the world, and think about all of the SEOs that are ranking there. And he's like, and I want it done in 3 months. I'm like, this is not going to happen. We're probably not a good fit for you. I mean, at some point it's just going to be, hey, look, this is, I appreciate getting paid. Don't misunderstand me. But I'm not going to do something like that where they're going to be in an issue because they didn't understand how much work and that's going to take. And to rank nationally is unbelievably hard.
Oh yeah, there's 10 spots available.
Correct.
So and there's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 businesses trying to look for that same exact 10 spots.
Maybe even per state. I mean,
it depends on the
if you look at California. I mean, how many of those lawyers, how many hairdressers are there? How many hairdressers are, how many electricians are there? You're looking at some pretty large groups that you have to compete against.
So right now, what you're telling me is it's sounding like you're saying it's too hard to do SEO and you would want to get away from that. So obviously that's not what you're telling us since that's your business. So how would you get around that?
You have to have somebody that knows how to do it, number one. You have to go into it with the idea that it is not an overnight thing. Again, that's why the ads come into play so much. It's so important to have those. That once you do get there, though, the quality is extremely high. And if you are ranking number one, if you're in the maps number one for the cities that you're in, that's high visibility and high click-through rates. And, all of these things are just amazing, especially because they create a foundation that will stay for a bit. I mean, it's something that you are number one for this keyword. We had a bankruptcy attorney that it took a while to get him there. But once he was there, he stayed for 6 months and was just happy as pie and was loving it. I mean, that's just one of the things that you kind of look at.
Yeah. I think that SEO is really important. And I think that long-term, like you were saying, it takes a while to get there, but that's the same for everyone else. So even though it takes you a long time to get there, once you get there, it takes you a long time to get out of there too.
Correct.
So,
especially if you have maintenance.
well, yeah,
You know,
of course, you have to maintain everything that you're doing. And I'm going back to the real estate, and that's where I think the ads and the SEO play hand in hand is, yes, we're a good way to start it up. But at the same time, if you're not running ads and just running SEO, then someone else is running ads. So if you're not showing up, you need to take up as much real estate as you can, get all that taken care of. When one of the things with the SEO is if you're ranking on the first page, which is obviously where you want to be because nobody goes to the second page hardly at all anymore. You still get some, but
correct.
first,
Less than 1%,
I would say 1 and 2 page, right? But that's where you want to be. Top threes, top.
30% or 28% for number one. And then it goes down from there very quickly. And it's 1% go to the second page.
Really? Solely 1%.
1%. Yeah.
I never thought I'd be a 1%er.
It's a great place to hire somebody. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I got right now. I mean, this has been kind of fun. I'm enjoying this, Mario. Thank you wherever you are. And, yeah, I enjoyed this.
Speaking of Mario, we're doing this here in the Why Not Results podcast studios. And do podcasts play into SEO much? Because I know they do into paid.
Absolutely. Because YouTube is the second largest search engine to put a video out there that is a podcast set about a specific property or keyword or whatever it is that you're trying to rank for. That is a whole video that is dedicated to that keyword or to that business along those lines. So it just allows you to have, a kick-ass way to be very specific about what people are looking for and to get it in front of them.
Yeah, and as far as paid goes, content is king. Video is everywhere. It keeps getting pushed. Every social media, every website. Video is showing up more and more and more. And we're getting a lot more user-generated content. It's not all professional production value anymore. People are just happy seeing somebody picking up their phone and doing some of these. If it's good content, if it's quality, if it makes sense and it catches your mind, it doesn't have to be, production level, studio quality. But yeah, we see great results from user generated content. Let's get out there. It just has to be something entertaining. It has to be something informative. It has to catch their eye and be useful to the person watching it. But yeah, video is absolutely everywhere, and it'd be hard to run paid ads without having video in your arsenal.
Agreed. And for me, the video comes into play on a website, and it comes into play as the second largest traffic source online is through YouTube. And so to be able to optimize a video, to be able to create and get some of those signals taken care of with video, to be able to dedicate a specific video about a specific couple keywords. I mean, those are all really big things, and be able to do a podcast by that, it really puts that out there because you've got all these places that you could put a video, you can put PDFs of that video, you could put all these different things. So now you're branding and taking up more real estate in terms of that first page. That video could be on the first page, or the PDF you created from that video could also be on that first page, or your organic website, or it used to be you could have different pages on a website that would rank on the first page, but Google has really kind of locked that down a little bit. It still happens every now and then, but I don't see it very often.
Well, and I ran a couple different brands for different companies. So I've done outsourced with all kinds of digital marketers, whether it's SEO, whether it's Facebook, Google, whatever it happens to be. So I've talked to a lot of people on the SEO world, and I've got a good understanding of the broad scope of it. And everybody talks about, the ranking, the authority, all the different backlinking. I'm going through my mind right now, and I'm not thinking of very many of them talking to me about video SEO. Obviously, that's different from what you've been saying. Is it easier? Is it easier to rank video because there's less people doing it? Because I haven't heard of very many people doing it much.
I have seen that videos easy to rank for depending on the keywords. It comes down to how many other videos you're trying to climb over.
the competition.
the competition always.
But if other less competition, I'm genuinely curious because, like I said, every SEO company I've ever known, they may do video. They don't talk about it. I've never had anybody optimize my videos that I'm thinking of, and we post videos all the time. So
There are things that you can do either through live streaming and through some of these other that you can get a video ranked very, very quickly. Now, will it stay there is the question. That's where the competition comes in. But I've seen literally somebody said, all right, we created a video. I just finished uploading it. All right, go look and type in this keyword and it's already ranking number one for that keyword. All right. Now, what happens on YouTube is a little bit different in that because of all the competition, that video has other signals that happen with it. Just like the stay on page signal and the back signal, YouTube has their own signals that come into play there that you have to be able to address. And what ends up happening is all these other ones that are entrenched for that keyword will overtake that video. Because they'll say, oh, there's a freshness.
right.
The video came out, it's fresh for this keyword and it'll rank it. Oh, well, no. Oh, well, no. Oh, well, no. And it starts to go down.
Well, YouTube is kind of a blend. Yes, it's the second largest search engine, but it's also a social network. So I have the feeling that it does a lot like Facebook does, where it'll always take something brand new, throw it up and see what kind of traction it gets. Because it always wants to give new and fresh content because that's what keeps people on board, etc. So it's throwing up that new thing, and if it happens to catch, it happens to catch. So you're saying video is a lot more like millennials, not a lot of attention span.
I was going to go to the goldfish conversation, but the truth is, video has opportunities. There's a lot of things that you can do to flood. I know a lot of SEOs, all they do work for is in YouTube. I know a lot of people, that's where they work because it's become so hard on the organic side to write somebody. So they stay with the map section and then they stay with the YouTube section. And that has never been my world, but that's not saying tomorrow it won't be. It's just one of those things that there's a definite learning curve. And I've learned from some of the best in the world that I can mention, but the truth is you still have to stay on top of what's happening. And now even with the AI, those videos are getting served up.
Right.
So how do you make sure that you are getting that data and that information into AI so that they can serve it up to somebody who's looking for that information?
And now that we're on to AI, how's AI affecting your world? I know that it's changing the top of the search results, and I've heard a lot of rumors about how Google absolutely hates AI written blogs and things like that.
So right now there's no penalties for AI written blogs. However, they do know what's been written by AI, especially if you just throw it into ChatGPT and you're not doing your job in making it, a properly tuned piece of content.
Right.
One of the things that we're able to do is create content now that is in the 97 percentile for personability, if that's a word, and surround that content about a set of keywords. So an old friend of mine, he's always said that you do 5 to 7 keywords per piece of content. They all have to be related, and you just write goes out about that set of keywords. And that's why it's so important to have those pieces of content on your website, because AI will go out and pick those up. And you really want to give AI the entity, and that's a big word. It's like a bucket. Okay. And the more data and the more information you could put in that entity bucket for you being an expert, the more AI is going to come in and say, this is an expert. Let's serve up that information. So that's really the key. Your bucket needs to be large. And when Google goes and does a deep dive in your bucket, it stays there for a while.
AI is changing the paid world quite a bit too. There's a whole lot going on in there. And the biggest problem with it is sometimes it requires a budget. I have been able to get some of the smaller budgets working with some of the AI campaigns that they have going. Um, but like with always, Google's always telling you to spend more money, and every advertiser in the world's like with them not to.
Yep. That's happened to social media too.
Oh yeah.
AI is taking over a lot of the social media stuff. You can tell, but they're getting better and better and better. So that you're starting to look at that going, I'm not sure if this is AI or not. You know, they want to make sure.
It bothers me. I don't even think we should go down that rabbit hole because I am. It is really starting to fires out that idea what's real, what's not real, and I'm even sober at the time. So
Yeah, it's one of those things that online is changing. Especially on the social media side, especially on some of those other things that they can really take over. Now, there's a lot of AI SEO out there and optimization, but you start looking at what they're actually doing, and in a competitive market, I haven't seen anything that comes anywhere near where they need to be. And that's not to say tomorrow it won't be, but right now, that side of it is an art, and I don't know if that bridge has been connected yet for an AI to be able to go into the actual optimization, especially off the website.
right.
On a website, you can do that, but I've always felt that AI is going to level out the playing field. Everybody's got AI; they're all about the same. It's going to take somebody like me or you to go and say, hey, we have some extra things that AI doesn't do that will be able to provide you with a greater section of that traffic.
Oh, AI is nowhere near ready to take over advertising.
Yeah.
Who knows? It all changes quickly. Who knows what will happen in 7 years? But I can tell you on the paid side of it, um, AI is good at adjusting some of the bids, doing some of that stuff. But Google will put together a video for you if you don't have one in some of these campaigns. And that's the last thing you want because those videos are not good. It's just jamming pictures from your website together, throwing some words in there, and then spending your money and seeing absolutely no results. So there are times and places for the AI that, I mean, from the paid side of it, you got to have the images, you got to have the videos, you got to have the headlines and descriptions that all work together, not just something randomly grabbed off your website. And AI is getting better, but it's still nowhere near it. Once it's taken over completely, and I don't mean the world, I just mean advertising, it's going to, when it messes something up, it won't know it messed something up is the problem. There is no checks and balances of itself. So there are things that go on, but it's very minuscule as far as the creating of the ads. The creative part still comes from people. And then that, like you said, that fine tuning, if everybody does AI, what's going to make it better? Somebody that knows what they're doing, well, don't do that. Do that.
One of the things that you guys do that is super important is taking a campaign and making it more efficient. And for me, from an optimization standpoint, I don't have those skills. I can make and optimize a picture. I can optimize an actual video with information on the backside. But getting into their budgeting and the cost per click and efficiency that you guys do, I think it's amazing. And I just I look at that and go, I don't have time to learn this. I need to stay in my lane. And that's one of the reasons that we, work so well. And it's two aspects of a wheel that help online marketing. And it's one of the things that if you would speak on in terms of optimizing a campaign or some of the other things that you have to do on all the different campaigns or channels that you guys deal with, whether it be Facebook, whether it be all these different opportunities, Google Ads, all the different channels that you guys deal with, it's massive. So,
And that is part of the problem for a lot of it is there are so many different areas to go in. Like you were saying, the optimization. One of the old ones I used to use as a explanation is keywords, negative keywords, stuff like that you want to avoid. Someone out there goes and searches for a cruise ship. If you're not careful and you have your ad set up wrong, Tom Cruise will pop up because it's catching that word, cruise. So you have to, those are some of the basic type of optimizations and that's something that nobody would ever think about until they've done it. And they're like, oh, there are certain things we need to not have that should be super obvious and that are super obvious. But at the same time, until you've done it, until you ran through them, the bids and the budgets, there's a whole lot that goes into trying to figure out the sweet spot. And I do think it's more of an art than a science a lot of times, because yes, there's a lot of technology involved, but like you'll go through and look at a campaign and you'll look and see what percentage you are serving at the top of the page. Because just like with organic, we will show up in first position, second position, third position, fifth position, eight, whatever it happens to be within the paid world portion of it. And always being to be in the top position doesn't make the most sense, because there's often some Yahoo out there that's willing to pay $77 for a click to sell a bottle of shampoo. Doesn't make sense to outbid him. So you need to find the sweet spot for each different campaign. And sometimes it's not easy figuring that out. And it does take a little bit of time, but that's where the two work well together between paid and organic.
One of the things that we deal with, and you mentioned it and touched on it briefly, is what comes to mind when I say diamond to you?
Right?
Okay, diamond ring. So all of those keywords has to do with wedding and marriage and proposal and all these different things. But what if I was talking about baseball?
Yeah.
And this is something that one of the best SEOs in the nation, Brian, was explaining this to me. And we were kind of going through this long conversation. And he was talking about how you differentiate that with search and getting somebody to understand what it is that they're actually looking for. So I say diamond, and I'm thinking baseball, and you're thinking wedding. It's clearly something's lacking in that connection. And so you have to make sure that your content on page, your words that are on a website, your FAQ, all are very specific and tuned specifically to what you're trying to rank for. And, that's the stuff that gets a little bit weird. And I know ads is the same thing. You guys have to be very specific about what it is that you're trying to.
I honestly think it's even a little more important in the paid side of it, because every time we get it wrong, you're paying because somebody clicked on it.
That's true.
Because with organic, you're paying your fees and your things that go along with it. And if you accidentally are serving up diamond rings, it doesn't cost you anything extra. So it's a little waste of your time, but other than that, it doesn't affect the end user very much at all.
I had a many years ago when I was learning, and somebody wanted to rank for dentist terms, but then I sent them a list of keywords that we're trying to rank for, and in there was free. And so what ended up happening is they started ranking number one for all these free keywords, and people were showing up at their dentist thing trying to get free services. And it was years ago, or maybe 20 years ago. And it was one of those eye-opening experiences and conversations that I will never forget. So
yeah, I had one just recently. It was the company had Sunset in the name. It was a vacation rental company, and it took me a while to figure out why this campaign wasn't working well. And this goes to something that I like to try to talk to people about before they even start their business, which it's usually too late once they're looking to market. But the name of your business is very important when it comes to branded terms. So this company was competing against every other company in the world that had Sunset. You know how many vacation companies around just the United States have the word sunset in it? So it's like they completely lost their ability to have their own branded name. Nobody can search for them and find them. Right. I mean, you can, but there's a lot of work. There's a lot of competition. Same thing with when you're trying to be too literal with the name of your business. Sometimes it doesn't work because you cannot win your own SEO or paid ads because there's too many people bidding for, if I named my business paid Google ads, yeah, everybody that searches for it's going to find me, but they're not going to find just me. They're going to find every other company in the world.
Exact match domains is what you're talking about. And it used to be that was a huge thing. And a lot of people got away from it, and a lot of people say it doesn't work anymore. but I have seen that to be still a viable thing that can work. The problem with that is you use your branding.
Yes.
So if you're specifically about this, that's pretty much what you're going to rank for, plus very close other things to that. But if you have a brand, you can actually start reaching out and branching out into a whole bunch of different other keywords.
Right. And it's different on your world than on mine, because with paid ads, there's no way to create that kind of authority for me to outrank everyone else in my bidding. Because typically in ads, if you're searching for my business name, if I have a unique name and it's on my website, as you say, and you got the authority, you got all the other stuff on, I'm going to get that click a lot cheaper than anybody else. Like Pepsi's going to, if I search for Pepsi, Coke would have a hard time paying enough to outbrave Pepsi, even though it's an option system. It's a weighted option system. And the relevancy is so much more important that you couldn't get that high. But if you have a generic name like paid Google ads, everybody can rank for it and everybody will pay as much. So I'm going to be paying as much for my own terms as everyone else. So it is important to be cognizant of what you name your own business.
It's true. I have seen competitors rank for the names of, from an SEO standpoint, I see it all the time in pay, but they will actually rank for the names of their competitors.
When they're too literal, too exact like that.
Yeah, and so they'll come in and let's say they take 10% or 15% of the traffic that this person's paying for. Now that information, or you're getting 10 or 15% from that one keyword or from that one.
Well, then the worst part about it is not just that you're losing some of that initial traffic. When you look talking about repeat business, if your customer clicks on another website accidentally, and then it goes over and takes advantage of their services instead of yours, it's not just that initial cost. I may have lost a customer. What if that other company does do a better job, or they like it better, whatever it is? Now you've actually lost the customer while they were searching to find you. And that just hurt.
Oh, yeah, I agree. 100%.
Guys, I'm so excited. I seriously, I'm sitting back here watching this and I'm so excited because I've been wanting to get these minds together, right? It's very hard. It's very hard to have people who don't have the same company, right, together in the same room to have these kind of conversations and show the differences. And Google has been so confusing for me. As much as I love the complexity of the digital marketing space, it's been extremely nerve-wracking. And where do I spend money? What do I do first, second, third? And so this is going to be the beginning of a lot of different conversations like this with pros. These guys, you're going to hear them talk together again. There'll be some other panel discussions. I'm excited to hear them. This was great sitting back behind the scenes, and thank you both for doing this. I know you're both very busy and takes a lot out of your time, so thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. No problem. It's another one of many.